speaks about the difficulties in dating Blueface after Angela takes a lie detector test.
My son ain't doing nothing different than your broke ass son doing. Your son can only afford one hoe. If he could afford 10 hoes, he'd be doing the same shit my son doing. Okay? It's part of the program. When I met my husband, his mama told me, that nigga think he cute, he likes, he think his shit don't stink. No, ma'am, I don't think it's a good fit for you. That's what she told me. She said, proceed with caution. That's what I did. I proceeded with my husband with caution. Because the mammy gonna tell you.
Listen closely, because this is one of those moments where the internet froze, the comments caught fire, and one family argument turned into a full-blown digital riot. The kind of chaos that makes reality TV look like a calm yoga retreat. A lie detector test was supposed to clear the air. Instead, it sucked the oxygen out of the room, flipped the table, and lit the match. Angela sat down expecting truth to save her. What she got instead was a result so shaky it sent shockwaves straight to Blueface's mom Karlissa, and Karlissa did not whisper, hesitate, or blink. She detonated within hours. Social media was buzzing, group chats were screaming, and fans were replaying clips like they were Zapruder footage. Karlissa's words weren't just sharp, they were surgical, cold, calculated, the kind of statements that don't just respond. They rewrite the narrative. This wasn't a disagreement. This was a public character trial with no jury, no judge, and millions watching live. And the scariest part, this didn't feel planned. It felt like a secret slipping out accidentally, the kind you can never stuff back into the vault. Because once that lie detector needle twitched, everything went left. The setup looked innocent enough, almost boring. A chair, a machine, a few wires, and the promise of clearing the air. That's how these things always start. Someone says they're ready to tell the truth, the audience rolls their eyes, and everyone assumes it'll be another forgettable internet moment. That assumption died the second the test began. Angela didn't walk in scared. She walked in certain. The kind of certainty people wear when they believe the narrative is already on their side. Calm voice, steady posture, that practiced confidence that says, I've rehearsed this. And right there, the internet should have known something was off. Because real peace doesn't need to announce itself. The lie detector wasn't supposed to be the villain. It was supposed to be the referee. A neutral machine, cold and emotionless, there to settle whispers and shut down rumors once and for all. Instead, it became the spark. Not because it screamed lie, but because it hesitated. And hesitation is dangerous. As the questions escalated, the energy shifted. The room felt tighter, heavier. Angela answered quickly, maybe too quickly, like someone racing ahead of their own heartbeat. The machine didn't react dramatically, but it didn't relax either. The needle hovered, paused, wavered. That tiny moment was enough to flip the switch. Because in internet culture, inconclusive doesn't mean unclear. It means suspicious. That's when Karlissa entered the story in full force. Not physically, strategically. She didn't jump in mid-test. She didn't interrupt or argue. She waited. And that wait mattered more than any outburst could have. When Karlissa finally spoke, it wasn't emotional chaos. It was precision. Her tone wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough to cut glass. She didn't accuse Angela outright. She didn't need to. She framed her words like questions, like observations, like someone connecting dots the audience was already staring at. That's the kind of reaction that rattles people. Because yelling can be dismissed as anger. Calm suspicion feels like confidence. Within minutes, clips started spreading. Short snippets, stripped of context, looping endlessly. People weren't even watching the full test anymore. They were watching Karlissa's reaction to it. Her expressions, her pauses, the way she let certain words hang in the air just long enough to make them uncomfortable. Fans immediately split into camps. One side screamed set up. They said lie detectors are junk science, that stress can trick machines, that Angela was nervous because of pressure, not guilt. Suddenly everyone became a polygraph expert overnight. The other side didn't care about science. They cared about vibes. They pointed out body language, timing, tone. They said something didn't sit right, and on the internet, doesn't sit right is a stronger verdict than evidence. And then there was Karlissa again, refusing to soften her stance. She didn't walk anything back. She didn't clarify for comfort. She let her initial reaction stand on its own, like a planted flag. That silence after her words hit harder than the words themselves. Because silence, when people expect reassurance, feels like confirmation. Old conversations resurfaced. Screenshots people forgot about suddenly looked different. Statements that once sounded harmless were replayed with new suspicion layered on top. This is how narratives shift, not with new facts, but with new context, and Karlissa knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't defending anyone. She wasn't attacking anyone. She positioned herself as someone who had simply seen enough. That's a dangerous position to take, because it invites the audience to trust your judgment without you ever having to prove it. By the end of that day, the lie detector test wasn't even the main story anymore. The real headline had become Karlissa's response to it. Her reaction reframed everything, not as a resolved issue, but as a crack in the foundation. And once a crack is visible, people start pushing. Angela tried to explain, tried to contextualize, tried to regain control of the narrative. But explanations only work before doubt sets in. After that, every word sounds defensive, every clarification sounds rehearsed, and every pass sounds guilty. This wasn't about proving a lie. It was about planting uncertainty. And Karlissa planted it perfectly. Because when a mother speaks calmly in the middle of chaos, the internet listens differently. And from that moment on, this wasn't just Angela's story anymore. It was a family drama with layers, history, and consequences that hadn't even started to surface yet. Once the clip escaped its original bubble, the story stopped belonging to the people in it. The internet took over, and the internet does not negotiate, investigate carefully, or wait for facts to finish tying their shoes. It reacts loudly, recklessly, permanently. The lie detector test wasn't even the main attraction anymore. It became background noise. What people cared about was the reaction to it, the silence, the side eyes, the calm confidence that felt louder than yelling ever could. TikTok grabbed the moment first and twisted it into 1,000 different realities. Slow motion edits, zoom ins on facial expressions, dramatic captions claiming they caught something nobody else saw. One clip focused entirely on Angela's breathing pattern. Another looped her blinking. Someone paused the video on a single frame and wrote a paragraph-long caption explaining how that exact second proved everything. It didn't matter if it made sense. It felt convincing, and online, feeling convincing beats being correct every time. Twitter, meanwhile, turned it into a sport. Jokes came faster than explanations. People compared the situation to reality TV meltdowns, celebrity trials, and famous public downfalls. Someone said this drama made luxury celebrity divorces look boring. Another joked that the lie detector deserved its own agent and podcast deal. Sarcasm flooded timelines, but underneath the jokes was something sharper, suspicion dressed as entertainment. Instagram played a different role. There, the story turned emotional. Posts framed Angela as misunderstood. Others framed her as manipulative. The comments sections became battlegrounds where nobody was listening. They were just firing takes like confetti cannons. Supporters said stress can fool machines. Critics said stress doesn't explain everything. And right in the middle of it all was the reaction that started the fire, not escalating, not clarifying, not apologizing. That's what kept this thing alive. Because in internet scandals, the worst move isn't saying too much. It's saying just enough and then going quiet. Angela tried to shift the momentum. She posted explanations, pointed out flaws in lie detector science, reminded people that context matters. But context is fragile once memes enter the chat. Every attempt to explain felt like pushing against a wave that had already decided where it was going. The more she spoke, the more people dissected her tone. Not the words, the tone. They asked why she sounded defensive. Why she waited that long to respond. Why certain phrases felt rehearsed. That's the internet's favorite game, turning normal human behavior into suspicious patterns. Then came the receipts era. Old videos resurfaced. Past statements were clipped, cropped, and reposted with ominous captions. Things that once passed unnoticed now felt loaded with meaning. People swear they always noticed. That's how hindsight becomes a weapon. Suddenly, this wasn't about one test anymore. It was about trust, consistency, credibility. And once credibility gets questioned publicly, it never fully recovers, it just mutates. Meanwhile, fan pages and commentary channels poured gasoline on everything. Every new angle became a bombshell. Every pause was a tell. Every silence was a strategy. Even neutral observers got dragged in. If you didn't pick a side, people picked one for you. And still, the reaction that mattered most stayed steady. No emotional live streams. No frantic clarifications. No long essays explaining intent. Just a presence, calm, watchful, confident, like someone who didn't need to convince anyone because the narrative was already bending in their favor. That scared people more than anger ever could, because anger feels reactive. Calm feels deliberate. The internet began reframing the entire story. Instead of asking whether the test was accurate, people asked why Angela needed it in the first place. Instead of questioning the machine, they questioned the motive. That's when the tone shifted from curiosity to judgment. The memes got darker, the jokes sharper, the assumptions louder. People weren't laughing anymore, they were deciding. Angela's supporters accused the internet of bullying, of turning uncertainty into a witch hunt. Critics accused her of hiding behind technicalities instead of addressing the bigger picture. And no matter what was said, the damage kept spreading. Because online outrage doesn't need confirmation. It needs momentum. And this story had a every day brought a new angle, a new clip, a new theory. People who had never cared before suddenly had strong opinions. People who didn't even watch the original test spoke like experts. That's when it became clear. This wasn't a scandal anymore. It was a cultural moment, one where truth became secondary to perception, where reactions mattered more than reality, where silence spoke louder than explanation. And the wildest part, nothing new had even happened yet. No new evidence, no new statements, no new test, just interpretation feeding on itself like a snake biting its own tail. And in that chaos, one thing became obvious. This situation wasn't burning out. It was setting the stage. Because once the internet locks onto a narrative, it doesn't let go. It waits, it watches, it stores every moment for future use. By the time the noise started to quiet down, the damage had already settled in. Not loud damage, not dramatic explosions. The quiet kind, the kind that changes energy, trust, and how people look at you when they think you're not paying attention. Because scandals don't end when people stop posting. They end when relationships shift behind closed doors. Angela didn't lose everything overnight. That's not how this works. What she lost was certainty, the benefit of the doubt that used to come automatically. Every future appearance now came with invisible subtitles. Every word weighed, every pause questioned, and that's a brutal place to live publicly. She could speak, people would say she was over-explaining. She could stay quiet, people would say she was hiding. There was no clean move left, only damage control disguised as confidence. That's the aftermath nobody warns you about. The part where the scandal doesn't scream anymore, it lingers. On the other side, the reaction that sparked everything didn't need to escalate. It didn't need to gloat or celebrate. It simply stood there, unmoved, like someone who had already said everything they needed to say. And that silence did more than shouting ever could. Because when someone stops reacting, the internet assumes they're satisfied. Fans started noticing subtle shifts. Who stopped engaging? Who avoided mentioning names? Who suddenly became busy when questions came up? It wasn't dramatic, it was telling. That's when people realized this situation wasn't about a test. It was about trust lines being crossed and not easily repaired. Behind the scenes, conversations likely changed tone. Support became cautious. Allegiances softened. People hedge their baits because no one wants to be standing too close when public opinion flips again. Angela's attempts to move forward didn't erase what happened. They just layered over it. And layers don't hide cracks. They outlined them. Meanwhile, the audience started doing what audiences always do, waiting for the sequel. Every post became potential evidence. Every interaction became suspicious. People didn't move on. They bookmarked the moment. Because the internet never forgets a good cliffhanger, what made this fallout different wasn't outrage, it was restraint. No screaming matches, no explosive confrontations, just consequences unfolding slowly, quietly, and publicly. That's worse than chaos, not because chaos burns fast. This kind of damage settles into reputation. Angela wasn't canceled, she was questioned. And that's far more dangerous. Being questioned means every future success gets side-eyed. Every win gets asterisked. Every failure gets magnified. And once that happens, rebuilding isn't about truth, it's about perception. The reaction that started it all didn't chase validation. It didn't ask to be believed. It trusted that the audience would connect dots on their own. That's influence without effort. And it's rare. As weeks passed, the story stopped trending, but it didn't disappear. It became reference material, something people bring up casually, like, remember when? Those are the moments that never fully die, because the internet moves on loudly but remembers quietly. And here's the real twist. This situation didn't crown a winner. It didn't give closure. It didn't settle anything definitively. It just shifted power. Angela learned that controlling the narrative is impossible once doubt is introduced. And the other side proved that sometimes the strongest move is letting the world do the talking for you. No grand finale, no dramatic confession, no redemption arc yet, just a story paused mid-sentence. And that's what makes it dangerous, because when a scandal ends cleanly, people exhale and move on. When it ends and finished, people stay curious, and curiosity is patient. This wasn't the end of the drama. It was the moment the stakes became permanent, because from here on out, every interaction carries history. Every silence has weight, and every future headline will drag this moment along with it. If you made it this far, congratulations, you just survived one of those scandals that doesn't scream for attention. It earns it. The kind that sits in your mind long after the clips stop looping and the comments stop refreshing. Now it's your turn to talk. Drop a comment right now and don't play it safe. Whose side are you on? And what moment made you decide? Was it the hesitation, the silence, or the way certain reactions felt a little too comfortable? Smash that like button like it owes you money and keeps dodging your texts. Subscribe like you already know this won't be the last time the internet digs this back up. Because let's be real, scandals don't disappear. They reload. They wait for the next live stream, the next interview, the next accidental slip that turns into a headline. And if you think this story is finished, you haven't been paying attention. This was just the quiet chapter before things get loud again. Over here, we don't chase drama, we dissect it. We don't pick sides blindly, we watch patterns. And we definitely don't forget that, so keep your notifications on. Keep your opinions ready. And keep your seatbelt fastened, because when this resurfaces, and it's going to hit harder, this